and it just wasn't for me. He just does such an incredible job, and I binged this within 2 hours. This one here is just a retelling of The Little Mermaid. Small Town is based on Stars Hollow from Gilmore Girls. It just fell really flat for me. This series here I've like completely read out of order. I do feel like it was a little bit predictable and easy to guess. Hype was valid. Like, this was one of my favorite books that I have read from 2025 so far. Was it necessary? No. Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new here. So as you guys can see by the title and the thumbnail, this video is going to be my mid-year reading wrap up for 2025, which is just insane. Like, the fact that we are like over halfway through the year at this point is just insane. I like to film this video after June ends, because then it's like we've done like the first 6 months of the year, and then we have the last 6 months of the year to go. We'll be doing another one of these videos at the beginning of next year for the books from July to December. For this video, we are going to be talking about all of the books that I have read so far from January to the end of June. So without further ado, let's jump into this video. So as you can see, I've got a stack here, this stack on the ground which I use for my thumbnail, and then I've also got another stack here. So we're probably going to be sat here for a while, so make sure you grab a drink and grab a snack before we get in. Let's start off with some statistics. So I have written everything down in my reading journal. If you guys want to see my reading journal for this year, then I will leave that video down below. From the first 6 months of this year, I have read 31 books. I have read 7 of my 25 that I want to read in 2025. I read 10 romance books, 9 fantasy, 5 sci-fi / dystopian, because I'll put them together, 3 Christian, 1 general fiction, and 3 mystery thrillers. I have read 1 library book, read 25 that were on my physical TBR at the start of the year, and I have read 5 books that were like purchased this year. I have completed 2 series. I have started 7 series. One of them I'm not continuing, and I have continued 6 series. I have not done like a total pages read, but I will add that up and I will pop that on the screen, as well as my total audiobook minutes that I've listened to. And as for a monthly breakdown, so in January I read 6 books, in February I read 6 books, in March I read 5, in April I read 4, in May I read 5, and June I read 5. So I think I'm 2 books less this year than what I was this time last year, because I'm pretty sure I had read like 33 last year, but 31 is still great, so I'm over halfway. So let's get into all of the books. So I started off the year continuing the Knock 'Em Out series. So this is the second book. This one is Things We Hide from the Light by Lucy Score. So I actually started reading this at the end of last year, but didn't quite finish it. This was a chunky book. This was almost 600 pages. I didn't believe in the relationship. The relationship just felt very lusty, and then it felt all of a sudden really deep. And we didn't really have that in-between period of them kind of getting to know the basics. I said they didn't spend very much time with each other that wasn't sexy time. This book does have a lot of spice, and probably too much spice for my liking. I do think I prefer like a more emotional romance. I enjoyed them better on their own than them as a couple, and I feel like they had a lot to work through individually before they got into a relationship. I just feel like they both weren't ready. So this book here is a dual POV. I said that this book was too long, and I just don't think I enjoy a broody, grumpy guy. So if you like that, you might enjoy this. I just think I personally prefer more of like a golden retriever emotional man than what was portrayed in this. And this was really disappointing, because I had really high expectations for this book, because obviously it's very talked about on Book Talk and a lot of people really love this, and it just wasn't for me. I didn't mind the first book, and I am yet to finish the series, so the last book for me will determine on whether or not I keep this book. I'm gonna keep the first one. So in this book here, you are following Nash and Lena, and Nash is the chief of police in this small town, and Lena we got introduced to, I'm pretty sure, in Things We Never Got Over, and she's like best friends with the main guy in the first book, and it all centers around this small town called Knock 'Em Out. Then I just wanted to pick up a book that I thought I would enjoy. This one is Book Lovers by Emily Henry. This one here is one of Emily Henry's adult romances, and this one here you were just following Nora and Charlie. So this one here, Nora goes away on a sister's trip to the small town of Sunshine Falls, and Nora is like a big bookworm, and she meets Charlie, who is in this like little small town, and he's like quite well known, and he also is like a reader. Their romance was just really cute. I really loved this. It was a great summer read because I read this in the summertime. I said that I loved both Nora and Charlie, and I felt their chemistry in this book, and I loved the sister in this book. She was awesome, like such a great side character. This is very witty, and Emily Henry is known for her wit and her banter in her books. This one had me giggling. The character development was good, and it addresses both family dynamics very well and also the subject of grief as well. And this was my second book by Emily Henry because I also read Beach Read last year, and I just had been wanting to pick up another Emily Henry book. Then I listened to the audiobook of Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix by J.K. Rowling while I was like reading these other books. The audiobooks I listened to are narrated by Stephen Fry, and he just does such an incredible job of capturing all of the different characters. He does like different voices and things for them. And this one here, you follow Harry's 5th year at Hogwarts, so he's just learning more spells and just his friendships with Ron and Hermione. This one is also in the teen fantasy genre, so again it's very easy to read. This one is quite a chunky book, hence why I listened to it. This one I said that I really enjoyed it. Some big events with life at Hogwarts as the main focus, and I personally just love being at Hogwarts and like the setting of Hogwarts and just kind of following Harry's like day-to-day life, and you just get so much more depth in the books than you do in the films. I said one professor was insufferable, but she's also meant to be, like that is the whole point. You're not supposed to enjoy her character. I just said it was nice to be back in the world, and I love all of the side characters, and Harry was a little bit grumpy in this book, but I do feel like he had a right to be grumpy. It was also to show like another side of Harry and his journey at Hogwarts. Personally, I don't think it's my favorite book in the series, but I just love the series, and I definitely do want to do like another listen through of the audios right from the start. Then I picked up I Am Number 4 by Pittacus Law. So this is the first book in the I Am Number 4 series. I do still have my copy, but I have lent it out to my friend Cara because she wanted to read it. This is a YA dystopian book where you are following our main guy, and he is like number 4. There is like this alien race that is hunting down the 10 kids who escaped, but they escaped because the planet was being taken over by these aliens, and these aliens are killing these kids in order. So they started off with number 1, then killed number 2, then killed number 3, and now he is number 4. So you kind of like follow him on like his journey of him like trying to live a normal life, him finding love, but also like trying to avoid being killed by this alien race. The series is not called I Am Number 4, it is called Lorien Legacies. I said that I read this very quickly, has high stakes, and I loved the dog in the story as well. There is a lot of tension and a few big events, but it still feels very fast paced throughout the story. I said that the romance was a little cheesy, but it is YA, so like I feel like sometimes romances in YA can feel a bit cheesy. I said I loved the side characters, and I'm excited to continue the series, and this one was our book club pick for January. So I have a book club with my sisters, and this was my youngest sister Anya's pick. The Twilight graphic novel. So this is like part 1. Obviously it's written by Stephanie Meyer. The art is illustrated by Young Kim, and it's just really nice to be back in the Twilight world again. I love all the like graphics and stuff in this series. It also has like a bit of color where necessary to like really get the vibe of the story going. I just absolutely love this graphic. I read the Twilight series for the first time when I was like 14, 15 I think. Also graphic novels are really quick to read, so you can literally read them in like one sitting. I really enjoyed this. This was also a reread for me because I did get this out from the library back when I was in high school. Had all the main scenes from the book, and I enjoyed the graphics, and I binged this within 2 hours. So again, very, very easy to read. I also would love to get the New Moon graphic novels. I just have no idea where to buy them here in New Zealand. So if anyone knows, let me know down below. The last book that I picked up in January, this one is Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. This one has a very similar premise to The Summer I Turned Pretty, where it's like her family go to this like batch every year, and it's next door to this family who have young boys around her age. Alright, hopefully I'm in a similar position. My SD card just got full, so I just changed it over. One of these boys is like her childhood love, and she hasn't like gone back to this beach house in years. I don't know if her family still own it or not, I can't quite remember. The mum of her childhood love has passed away, and so she's kind of like reconnecting with them for like the funeral. Like after all this time, I said that I enjoyed this. It was childhood friends to lovers, which is one of my favorite tropes of all time. It will get me anytime, and I will always read any book that has a childhood friends to lovers trope. But the characters are definitely flawed, but it made them feel more human. There is a trope that I don't necessarily love. However, I understand the characters, and I understand why they did what they did and why they thought what they thought. I said that it had a good ending, and it was the perfect summer read. I was literally reading this on the beach, and it was a vibe. We move into the books that I read in February. So part 2 of the Twilight graphic novel. Again, I binged this pretty quickly. We actually took one of our friends from church to the hospital, and we were in there for like hours with him. So I just took this and pretty much binged the entire thing there. I really enjoyed this book as well, and really enjoyed the graphics. Convenience Store Woman. I can't remember who writes this story, but obviously I will have like a little picture on the screen because I don't have my copy of this book anymore. We're following this woman who has worked in a convenience store for like 30 years. She's never had any love. She hasn't really done much with her life. She's just like moved up the ranks in this convenience store. This one is also a general fiction, and it is super duper short. It's a translated work, so it was translated from I think Japanese to English. But this book had no character development. The guy that she fell for in this book was insufferable. He was manipulative, and he took advantage of her, and she kind of just like let it happen and like let him walk all over her, and that really frustrated me. I said that all the side characters were mean. None of them really felt like they wanted to help her or support her or like give her actual advice that would help. I said that I enjoyed the convenience store setting, but that the main character definitely had some like mental health issues going on that like necessarily weren't addressed. And that book there was our February book club pick. My Life Next Door by Huntley Fitzpatrick. So this was a book that I had purchased a really long time ago from the Lions book sale, and it had just been sitting on my shelf, and I really wanted to read it in summer because I think it was taking place in the summer. You were following this girl who comes from a very like strict, organized, controlled family, and they live next door to like a very boisterous, almost kind of like hippie family that have like 7 kids. They're just like very loud, very energetic, and so like the complete opposite of her family. It's kind of like a neighbor romance between one of the guys in this huge family and the main girl in the very like organized, controlled environment. This one is also a YA romance, so pretty easy to read, but this one I obviously don't have my copy anymore, so I'll read you guys my thoughts. I had a lot of thoughts as I was reading this. I enjoyed the big family and loved the golden retriever guy. Again, one of my favorite tropes. But I want to read more neighbor to lovers romances and guys who come from big families and guys that are like golden retrievers. I said that I really did not enjoy the girl's family, and I feel like overall she was a bit of a pushover. I said I felt like the story was trying to do too much because it also had like a slight twist that the story kind of just like threw in halfway through, and I feel like it would have been better if we had started off with having that as like the main thing, because it would have created like proper conflicts in their relationship. I said that it was marketed as a romance, but the couple got together by page 150, and then they were just pining to sleep with each other until around page 300. I said that the sister storyline and friend storyline got forgotten about, and I said that the overall twist feels like it had been forgotten about. It touches on addiction, but I feel like it was glossed over and maybe wasn't an accurate depiction of how addiction kind of plays out. And so ultimately that's why I decided to get rid of this book. The next book, I'm going to take the dust jacket off because my dust jacket is extremely faded. I then listened, like throughout these other books, to the 6th Harry Potter book. So this one is Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince by J.K. Rowling, again narrated by Stephen Fry. So this one here, you were just following Harry's 6th year at Hogwarts, and I think this one could possibly be my favorite book in the series, or like my top 2, because I just absolutely loved this. I really enjoyed it. It had a good plot, very high stakes, a lot of like big events happened in this book. I loved all the characters and the atmosphere felt very magical. Love and Gelato by Jenna Evans Welsh, or Welch, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that surname. This is the first book in the series. I don't know if it's called Love and Gelato. If it's called anything else, I will write it on the screen. You're just following this girl who is grieving the loss of her mum, and she goes to Italy for the summer because her and her mum had booked tickets for like her graduation present. And while she's over in Italy, she finds a diary that her mum wrote while she was in Italy, and so she's like just going through and following like all the places and stuff that her mum went to help her kind of feel closer to her mum. I really enjoyed the story. This is actually a movie as well, and my husband and I watched it like a couple of weeks ago, and I do feel like it was a very good depiction of how the story goes. You definitely do get more in the story than you do in the film, but I feel like they got a lot of like the main parts. Again, is a YA romance with a mystery subplot, so again very easy to read. I said that I really enjoyed this. I loved the Italy setting, and I would look up pictures on Google of like the places that were talked about in here because I've never traveled overseas, so I didn't really know what they looked like. It made me want to go there. The food was incredible in the story, like the way that it was described. A strangers to friends to lovers trope. It is a slow burn romance with no spice, which is fantastic because like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of spice. The relationship felt very natural. The grief was addressed in a way that felt very real, and the mystery was great. So overall, loved this and would love to continue the series. The last book that I read in February, this one is God is Enough by Ray Galea. This one is a Christian non-fiction. It's pretty short, so pretty quick to read. I really enjoyed it. It has a lot of truth in it. It was good for new Christians as well if they want to read it, because it was dense, but it wasn't like too dense and didn't use a lot of big words, so it was pretty easy to understand. It could be used as a devotional as it goes through a psalm with a teaching, and it has reflection questions as well. We move into the month of March. So again, for March, I picked up another Christian non-fiction. This one is True Friendship by Vaughan Roberts. This one here just talks about like friendships and what that looks like in a Christian setting. This one here just talks about like God and him being enough for everyday life. So I kind of enjoy like reading like different topics and things to kind of just like grow my knowledge. I said that it was good. It had a lot of good truths in here, and I liked that there were discussion questions in the end of the book, and it was very easy to understand. So again, great if you are a new Christian. This one is To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christo. So this I originally picked up as a library book because I saw it there and I'd been wanting to read it for a really long time, and I really enjoyed it, so I ended up buying myself a physical copy. I just got my copy from Mighty Ape. This one here is just a retelling of The Little Mermaid. This one is YA fantasy, and it is part of a series. I don't quite remember the name of the series or what book number it is in the series, so I will write that somewhere on the screen when I'm editing this. Really enjoyed it. It is a dual POV as well, so you get the prince and the mermaid being. She's actually a siren in this. I may have missed some parts in the middle as I was reading this late at night when I was quite tired, but little things would come back up and it would tie together, which is really nice. I really enjoyed the setting of it being on the ocean, because the ocean for me has a very special place in my heart. I love the ocean, I think for two reasons. One, because anytime I feel anxious, I like going down to the ocean and just sitting and like watching the waves. And I also just like how powerful the ocean is, because I really feel like it shows God's power. Any book that is set on the ocean, I am like, sign me up. This one here, I loved all the side characters and it was a good plot. Slow burn, closed door romance, which was just perfect. So no spice whatsoever in this. As I was reading those books, I was also listening to the audiobook of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows by J.K. Rowling, again narrated by Stephen Fry. So this is technically like the final book in the original Harry Potter series. We're just following Harry's 7th and final year at Hogwarts. Again, very similar thoughts to this as the other two Harry Potter books. So really enjoyed this. Good plot. The battle in this did feel like it wrapped up quite quickly though, because obviously we were building up to this battle for like the last 6 books. I said that I kind of missed the academic side of being at Hogwarts because it didn't have as much set at Hogwarts. They were kind of like traveling around. I said that I really enjoyed the build up to the battle, and I really liked the Legend of the Hallows, because there's like 3 Deathly Hallows that you have to collect. There's the Invisibility Cloak, the Elder Wand, and the Philosopher's Stone, I'm pretty sure. Again, this is one of my favorite series of all time. So then after those fantasy books, I just wanted to pick up something a bit more lighthearted, another romance book. So I picked up People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry, and I know that this is a lot of people's like least favorite Emily Henry book, but I think this is probably my most favorite one that I've read so far. The girl, I'm pretty sure, is a travel influencer, and the guy, he's kind of just like another golden retriever. He loves being at home, reading books. They were college best friends back in the day, and I just loved that trope. Again, I feel like the whole like childhood or like college friends to lovers trope will get me every time. Like, I absolutely love it. I really enjoyed it. Was a college best friends to strangers to friends to lovers, which was nice to see them kind of go through a very like logical and realistic phase, I think. I really enjoyed the male main character and the female main character. I said that it was a little anticlimactic at the end, but I still really enjoyed it. And I really enjoyed reading about a travel influencer, because personally I don't have a big travel bug, so it was interesting to read about someone who does. The last book that I read in March was actually our book club pick, and this was my choice. I picked The Magician's Nephew by C.S. Lewis. So this is the first book in the Chronicles of Narnia series. In this book, you are just learning about how Narnia was created, and I've never actually read all of the Chronicles of Narnia, but it's something that I definitely want to do. I've only ever read The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. I had part of this read to me at school when I was like 7 or 8. Again, this is a like children/teen fantasy book. I said that I really enjoyed it. I thought it had a good plot, and the world building was very, very clever, and it also answers questions that I had watching The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, about like how the wardrobe worked and if the professor knew that it was magical or not. You get answers to that in this book here. It literally left a smile on my face as I finished it, because I just felt so fulfilled. Then we move into April. So I started off April reading New Girl by Paige. So I do still have my copy of this, but this one will actually be donated to a little library because I didn't love it. It kind of is very similar in terms of like the plot of like Wild Child, where you have like a girl who goes to like a boarding school who was like really popular back home and like really like doesn't want to be at this boarding school, and everyone at this boarding school like kind of hates her. But it wasn't as good as Wild Child, and it does have like a mystery subplot where this girl in the previous year who was loved by everybody. She went missing and they have never found her, and so it's kind of like a, is she alive, is she not, what happened to her, and everyone really wants to know. And the only reason that this girl was able to go to this school is because she was on the waiting list, and because this girl, like, she went missing, this new girl took her spot. This one here is a mystery book. I'm pretty sure it's YA. It was a dual POV with a past and present timeline. I said that I enjoyed the mystery, but the ending let me down, and in mysteries and thrillers, whether I keep the book or not depends very much on the ending. I enjoyed the female main character from the present timeline, but I hated the female main character from the past timeline, as she was super narcissistic. So you basically get points of view from this main girl coming to this boarding school, and the past timeline is the girl that's gone missing. It was very like hard to feel sorry for her. I said that the side characters sucked, and overall it let me down as nothing was revealed to the characters that we found out as readers in the book. Everyone was really mean to the main girl and there were no apologies. I also think it's really important to check the trigger warnings in this book, because there are a couple of scenes that might be quite upsetting. After not loving that book, I wanted to read something that I had anticipated that I would enjoy, so I picked up The Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Laurie Gilmore. First of all, I love this cover. It is so freaking stunning. This one here is the first book in the Dream Harbor series, and I know that this book has been like so popular on Book Talk, but I actually really enjoyed it. You are just following this girl who comes to this small town, and she is basically like redoing and reopening the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. You are following this main guy, and he's like the love interest, so it's like a romance book. It is adult romance though, and the guy is like, I think he's like a little bit grumpy, but he wasn't grumpy like the guy was in the Knock 'Em Out series, and he's like the local farmer dude. These books here are also Small Town, and the Small Town is based on Stars Hollow from Gilmore Girls, so if you really like Gilmore Girls, then definitely read this. Also like been binge watching Gilmore Girls with my husband Phil, and we are both obsessed with it, and so I feel like I just read this at the perfect time. It was exactly what I was in the mood for, so it was perfect. I said that it maybe did have one too many spice scenes, and I did think the romance could be a little bit more developed, but I still really enjoyed it. It was the perfect autumn read. Again, I feel like that goes without saying because the cover is very autumnal. There was also a slight mystery subplot in this, which I really enjoyed. I said that it was a little bit cheesy. Then because I really enjoyed that one so much, I also picked up the second book in the series, which is The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore. So this one you're following Hazel, who runs a bookshop in the town. She's like lived there for like her whole life, and then the main guy in this book is like the playboy guy, so this one was definitely a bit spicier than the Pumpkin Spice Cafe, and it's definitely the spiciest one that I've read, because if you don't know, the third book is The Christmas Tree Farm, and I read that in Vlogmas last year. If you want to see me reading that, I'll leave that vlog down below. So this one so far has probably been my least favorite in the series, but I really enjoyed the like bookstore setting, so that's why I wanted to keep it. It wasn't my favorite relationship. I did feel like it went from lust to love very quickly with like no middle ground. Obviously it is going to be spicy because like the main guy is like a playboy, and he's known to be like the playboy in the town, and I wasn't really a fan of like the whole casual relationship thing. Enjoyed the bookstore setting and the side characters, and there also was like a mystery subplot in this, which I really enjoyed. There was a little book acts of service thing at the end, which I absolutely loved. I thought that was so incredibly cute. It was a dual POV, but I wish we were shown and not told about the guy's fishing business, because he also owns like a fishing business, and I wish we were shown his visit back home to his family, as I felt that was important for his character growth, and it was just really nice to continue to be in the Dream Harbor town. The last book that I read in April was our book club pick, and my youngest sister wanted us to read a book that was YA that either started with A or the author started with A. So I did a double whammy and I picked up After the End by Amy Plum. So this book here I actually did thrift, and I was going to put it in a thrift haul. However, I've already read this and unfortunately I did not love it. And it's the first book in the, I think it's the After the End series, but if it's not, I will write it on the screen. This one is a YA dystopian book where you are following this girl who has grown up in the wilderness, and this whole time she has believed the earth is radiated and the only civilization left is her civilization. And then one day she is like out hunting and she comes back and her entire village has like deserted and all of the huskies are dead. And so she's like, oh my gosh, where has everybody gone? Like, what has happened? And it's kind of like on the back of like this belief that World War III had happened. She finds out that the elders in her world have lied to her and that World War III never happened and civilization is like thriving. That's also not a spoiler, that's like literally on the back of the book. I have read the Die For Me trilogy by Amy Plum and I absolutely loved it. I said that it had a great concept but the execution just wasn't good. The beginning was too quick, like we just didn't really set up the story before we got into the action, and I feel like there needed to be a bit more setup before we got into the action. We also didn't fully set up who the main character was before it kicked into action, so it was like really hard to like sympathize with her. I said that the middle was very slow and it had a road trip part in this book, and I usually enjoy it but I just wasn't vibing this one. Characters felt flat, there was no depth, and the romance in this book felt forced. There was an absence of consistent side characters. It was a dual POV and the guy just felt very immature and very annoying, and overall, yeah, I won't be continuing the series as it just fell really flat for me. Then we move into May, and for May I just really wanted to pick up something that I thought I would enjoy. I picked up Shopaholic Ties the Knot by Sophie Kinsella. So this one is the third book in the Shopaholic series. I started the Shopaholic series literally when I was an intermediate and I've never finished it, but I definitely think I appreciate the books more as I've gotten older. My battery just died, so we are on a new battery. The series here I've like completely read out of order because I would just get the books out from the library and they didn't have all of the series there, so I kind of just like got out the ones that I could. I would like to go back and reread them all like start to finish. You are just following Becky Bloomwood and she is a shopaholic. She's just kind of learning to like overcome this kind of like shopping addiction, and you kind of follow her like through different life stages. So obviously this one here you are following her getting married, which was really fun, and I feel like this is a great book to read if you are like currently planning your wedding. So this one is kind of like a general fiction romance series. Obviously this one you have a lot of like romance because it's literally about a wedding. Really enjoyed this. It was very witty and had me giggling. It was a little stressful at times just with the plot, but that's meant to be the case. Like it's meant to be like stressful in parts. I love her friendship with Suze. Again, if you didn't know, the Confessions of a Shopaholic movie is based on the first book in this series. So again, if you loved that film and you've not read the series, would highly recommend. So I definitely want to continue the last 3 books in the series. After that, I felt ready to dive into another fantasy and I tackled Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. This is chunky. This is like, what, 600 pages? Yeah, just under 620 pages. This is the second book in the Imperium series, so the first book is Fourth Wing. This world kind of combines the magic of Harry Potter, the trials of the Hunger Games, and like the high stakes of the Hunger Games with the dragon riding in How to Train Your Dragon. So if you liked all those 3 things separately, then I feel like you will really enjoy this series here. This is an adult fantasy series, so it does have like a bit of spice. We're following Violet Sorrengail in the first book, and she goes to a war college that her mum is like the like principal, or what's equivalent to the principal of, and you have 4 different quadrants, and Violet has trained her entire life to be a scribe. Her mum is like, nah, like she kind of looks down on scribes, and she's like, you'll be a dragon rider, which are like the military that like protect the school and the outside world from like outside threats. She basically puts Violet into that quadrant, and you just follow Violet trying to survive. So Fourth Wing is like her first year at the school, and Iron Flame is like her second year at the school. So again, you get that kind of crossover with like how Harry Potter is structured. This book here, I didn't actually mind it. A lot of people really hate on Iron Flame, and it definitely feels a little bit like rinse repeat from Fourth Wing. I just really enjoy like books set at schools, and even if it's just mundane, like them going to their classes and stuff, I still really enjoy it. The ending had my jaw on the floor. It also set up book 3 really well, which is currently what I'm reading now. It's definitely slower than Fourth Wing, but I enjoyed the first half a lot more of this than the second half, but I really enjoyed the last like 10% of the book, because the last 10% was like really intense. I loved all the characters, but I feel like the love interests could communicate better, which I feel like is quite a common criticism that people have with this series. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite series, but I do really enjoy being in this world. Throughout reading those books, I also listened to the audiobook of The Swarm by French Satsing. I wanted to audio this because this is a chunky book, and like the font is like quite small. It's like over 800 pages, and this one is an ecological sci-fi slash thriller book. You are following a group of scientists, and they're trying to figure out what is going wrong in the ocean, because the animals in the ocean aren't acting the way that they should, and there's been like a lot of like tsunamis and stuff, and something just doesn't feel quite right. So they are trying to just figure out what is going on. Also has just been a TV show of this released on TVNZ on demand, and I did actually watch the show, and I really enjoyed watching it. But this one here is another one that I enjoyed while I was listening to it, but it's probably not one that I will reread or re-listen to. So this one will be getting donated, same with After the End. I enjoyed the big scenes, but overall there was a lot in this book that felt very slow. A lot of conversations that happened in this book didn't really add anything to the plot and ended up being unnecessary at the end. So I do feel like that could have made the book a lot shorter, because I felt like they were trying to almost do too much. I said that the big reveal at the end was a little bit anticlimactic, because I feel like it's very predictable. I didn't enjoy all the aspects of evolution that were talked about in this book. As a Christian, I am the opposite, so I did find that hard to read. They kind of dissed Christianity at the end and creation, which I really didn't appreciate. I said that there were too many characters to keep track of, and at the end it switched from places to people, because it would always start off a chapter with being set at a place, and it made it really confusing. And I feel like the story would have been better crafted if we had just done individual perspectives and point of views, because then I feel like it would have been easier to keep track of the many different characters and who they were and what role they played, but also it would have been better because they were all set in different places. That's why I'm not keeping this. The audiobook of this though was really good. I would definitely recommend listening to it over reading it, because I think if I was reading it, I would have got bored and lost and probably would have DNF'd it. It's 37 hours and 40 minutes, so if you're gonna start it, just know you're gonna be in it for a while. So after that, I just wanted to read something quick and easy and fast paced. So I picked up The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. So I know there are a few of you guys that recommended that I read this series after I read The Inheritance Games. So this is the first book in a series. It is a YA. It's marketed as mystery, but I would say it's more thriller. It's kind of like a Criminal Minds but with teenagers type situation, where these group of teenagers are hired by the FBI because they all possess like a specific skill that the FBI finds useful in solving cold cases. In this book here, the main girl is a profiler, so she can look at a crime scene and figure out what kind of killer they would be looking for in the scenario based on how the crime was committed. So I just think that is fascinating. I really enjoyed it. It was very easy to read and I read it very quickly. The person that did it, and that was bad, I did guess. So I mean, depending if you like guessing or if you don't, you may or may not enjoy that. Overall, yeah, really excited excited to continue the series, and I just love Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Like, she writes very short chapters, so her books are like always very, very easy to binge. Each book, I believe, follows a different person in this FBI program, so like you get a different skill each book. I was really in the mood to binge another book, so I picked up No Exit by Taylor Adams. So I have heard great things about this book. It's a very similar vibe to Five Survive and Black Ice, so if you really enjoyed either of those books or both of those books, then you will really, really enjoy this one here. You are following this girl who is traveling home in like her college break, and she's like traveling in this like snowstorm in her car. It just gets to the point where like the snow is too thick and she like can barely see out of her windscreen. So she pulls into this rest stop. I think it's as she's going into this rest stop, or maybe she comes out to her car, I can't quite remember. She sees a van that has like tinted out windows, and she sees a little girl's hand put on the windscreen, and she thinks that like just her brain like playing tricks on her, but there is something in her that like is curious enough to just check this out, to kind of like rule it out, to be like, no, this doesn't happen, I'm just tired. So as she like goes up to this van, she peers in this van and she sees a little girl locked in a cage in this van, and so she basically like goes into this rest stop to try and figure out who has taken this little girl, why they have taken this little girl, and how to get this little girl out safely in the middle of a storm. Very, very intriguing premise. Again, I love anything that has like a snowed in car situation. I really enjoyed it. It had very high stakes. It goes in an interesting direction as you find out halfway through the book who the bad person is. So the first half you were trying to figure out who has taken her, and then the last half of the book is trying to figure out how to escape and get her out of the situation. It's better to go into the book knowing that it's not just like a whodunit type situation. It is for half of the book, but then the other half is the escape, which I actually thought was quite interesting, because I feel like if you maybe had stuck to one or the other too much, the book may have felt slow or boring. Told over like, I don't know if it's quite 24 hours, but it's within 24 hours, which I feel like creates the very high stakes. I did guess that the guy in this book was bad, so that made me feel very validated that I did guess. I enjoyed all of the aspects of things that kept going wrong, because it felt very realistic, and I really connected to the young girl in this book, because the young girl in this book has a very rare disease, and someone in my family actually has this disease. So I understood how like high stakes it was, and I understood like how important it was to save her. This one was actually our book club pick for the month, because we got to choose a book on our like yearly TBR. Last but not least, we get into the books that I have read in June. So I started off June with Pandemonium by Lauren Oliver. This book is the second book in the Delirium trilogy. So I read Delirium last year and absolutely loved it, and I really wanted to continue the series. On TikTok as well, they do have the first pilot episode of the Delirium TV show, because the TV show did get cancelled after the pilot, and it's like very hard to find on the internet, but it is on TikTok. Emma Roberts stars in it, which is also why I really wanted to watch it, because I love Emma Roberts. So basically, if you don't know what Delirium is, it is a YA dystopian trilogy where love is a disease, and our main girl is like about to turn 18, and when you turn 18 you have an operation to completely remove all traces of love from your body. In this world here, they believe that love, it makes you erratic, like it makes you not think clearly, it makes you make tricky decisions, it creates broken homes, and this society is just very ordered and structured. One day this girl meets a guy. The story kind of goes from there, because obviously like you're not allowed to love in this world. In this book here, I obviously can't talk about too much that happens because I don't want to spoil it. In my opinion, it was not as good as Delirium was. I did feel like it had a little bit of like middle book syndrome, where it was kind of just like a filler book. I said that I enjoyed the last half of this this way more than the first half, and the plot twists I saw coming, but I enjoyed being right about them because it makes me feel smart. I do feel like it was a little bit predictable and easy to guess, but I am intrigued to see where the story goes. Like, there was definitely like a lot that happened in this book, and it does still feel very like high stakes. So the next book that I picked up was one of my highly anticipated new releases for the year, Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. So this is the second book in the like prequel Hunger Games trilogy. Well, I assume it's going to be a trilogy, but it's like the 5th book that has come out in the Hunger Games world. So in this book here, you are following Haymitch, and we met Haymitch in the Hunger Games because he was mentoring Katniss. Obviously, like, this book hits quite hard because you know that Haymitch won his games, but it was really intriguing to see Haymitch's games and to see a young Haymitch and see how he thought about things. It's obviously like a dystopian book. I really enjoyed this. I was really worried that I wouldn't enjoy it because of how much hype that it had. Hype was valid. Like, this was one of my favorite books that I have read from 2025 so far. I enjoyed all of the characters. The plot was really good. The character development was so good, and it shows how Haymitch ended up the way that he did, and it makes sense as to why he ended up the way that he did. The arena was very cool, and I really enjoyed all the connections made with characters that were in Catching Fire and The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes and The Hunger Games as well, like the original book. I think Suzanne Collins did such a great job of writing this. It was very well written, and yeah, it was just nice to be back in the world again. I would love to do like a full Hunger Games reread, but actually reading them in order of when they actually happened, because Haymitch's games were the 50th Hunger Games, so obviously a quarter quell, so obviously like there's twice as many tributes that went into the Hunger Games in Haymitch's games. The battery just died, so we're back on another battery. I just think it would be really cool if we got another book either with like the war and like the first Hunger Games and how people felt about it, or if we got Finnick's games and like the tie-in that he has with like Mags and Annie. I think that would make for an incredible story. So I just love this world. Again, it's another one of my favorite series of all time, so if you've not read The Hunger Games, you need to read it. And I would recommend starting with the original trilogy and then going into The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes and then this one, because if you read this one first, it will spoil like the rest of the books. I picked up another Christian non-fiction, and I picked up Knowing God by J.I. Packer. It kind of just like talks about the relationship that God has with his people and kind of like how that works, and I really enjoyed this. I did say that I hated the font in this. Font is just not my favorite. The content of the book is really good. Hard-hitting truths and reflections. It does also have a study guide at the back. I think I do want to reread this at some point, and I think I would like to go through it with the study guide. It's dense, but it was easy to understand, and it has a lot of wisdom in this. So I do think you could read this as a new Christian. The last book in the like Harry Potter world. So I picked up Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. Now this is a playwright that is based on the like Harry Potter books by J.K. Rowling, and J.K. Rowling did actually have a hand in the playwright, but it's also written by John Tiffany and Jack Thorne. So yeah, it was really interesting because it was done by like acts, purely just like dialogue, but I actually did really enjoy this. Was it necessary? No. It was nice to kind of like be back in the world, and this follows Harry's son and like his journey at Hogwarts. So obviously this again is teen fantasy. I really enjoyed the plot. Interesting to read as it was a different format. It was very easy to read. I thought the story was good, but it definitely felt more of like a novella. It was nice to be back with all of the characters. The last book that I have to talk to you about, and the last book that I have for my books that I have read from January to June, is unfortunately another book that I just didn't love. So again, it will be getting donated. The Boy Next Door by Josie Lloyd and Emmeline Rees, and it's kind of like a past and present timeline, but the way that it was structured did not make sense. Like the chapters were really long, and the chapters would have a mix of both past and present timelines, and I feel like I really would have enjoyed this more had they structured it with like one chapter of like the past and then one chapter with the present, because you also got like a dual POV with like the guy and the girl. And I was like umming and ahhing about whether I kept this for the longest time, but I have just decided that I think there are other romances that I prefer. So this one is an adult romance and it is under 300 pages, so it is pretty quick to read. This one here, you have a guy and a girl who were next door neighbors growing up and like friends in school, and then as they left school they kind of like drifted apart, and then they like meet again later on in life, and the girl is a single mum. Said that it was a neighbors, childhood friends to lovers to strangers to friends to lovers. So there's like a lot that goes on within these 300 pages. I felt the present timeline was a bit lackluster and it was very past heavy. I feel like if they had done it with like a past and a present timeline as chapters, they both could have been on equal footing. There was a cheating trope in this book, which again I wasn't a fan of, and is why I have ultimately decided to donate it. But yeah, I did feel the chemistry in this book, the relationship in this was really cute, but I do feel like I want to try and find another like neighbors, childhood friends to lovers trope with like maybe a single mum or like a single dad. So if you have any recommendations of what I could try to get that similar vibe, then let me know down below. But those are officially all of the books that I have read from January to June. My June book club pick I didn't quite finish in June, so that will be in my next lot of wrap-ups. Hopefully you guys are still here. I feel like this video has probably been a long one, and hopefully it has given you at least one recommendation of a book to try. If you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you have not already. Please make sure to turn on the notifications and check out my social media. It's always linked down below in the description box. If you guys would like to watch more reading videos, then I have a lot of like other book videos on my channel, so I will leave my playlist down below for you guys. Overall, I'm very happy and I am very intrigued to see my reading year for the future. I do also post little monthly shorts on here of the books that I read. They just don't have any like talking of what I thought, because that's for this video. But yeah, that is all that I have, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!